The coaches are in. When you need a timely, transparent friend, tune into the coaches are in. Talking career, business, health, and wealth. You've got a friend now. Into the coaches are in. With authenticity, come on, let's take a seat and tune in.
All right, and we are live for the coaches are in. I am hoping that technology is agreeing with us this week because we've had some issues the last couple
it's been trying us.
Yes, but I hope it is agreeing and that you all can actually see us. I feel like I see a little something up here in the corner that's telling me that we are not showing up on one of the pages, but that's all right. We still here.
Yeah, we showed up. We did our part.
That's right. And
brought joy because that intro brings so much joy.
Yeah.
I'm like, yes. Listen.
Yes.
It puts a smile on my face.
Exactly. So we're gonna do our intros, just in case you're tuning in for the first time, don't know who we are. I am Dr. Cherita Weatherspoon. I am the creator of The Coaches Are In. I am also the owner, founder, CEO of Powerhouse Coaching, where I work, show up, perform as a business strategist and alignment coach, assisting Black women CEOs with building a business that they love and that pays them well.
I'll go next. I'm Dr. Malaika Turner. I am the founder of and owner of The Speaker LLC, and I am the speaker. Okay, everything I do is motivation from workshops, trainings. Confidence is one of my favorite trainings, but also merchandise. And so everything that I put out there in the atmosphere is motivating you to be your best you. So that's who I am.
Yes. And I am Allison Garrett. I am your behavioral interventionist, and I work with professional women who don't know what has them stuck, and I help them break through what's blocking them without years of therapy.
Awesome. And we are the Coaches Are In, and we are excited to be with you today. This is beyond being, the day that the Lord has made. This is
yes.
a special day because it is actually the last episode of season 2.
Yes.
And we're wrapping it up with a conversation on our book reading for this season, which is Rest is Resistance, a Manifesto by Tricia, I'm not sure, Hersey, founder of the Nat Ministry. So we are diving into part 3 and part 4 of this reading today. I think it's timely in that we're coming up on the end of the year. Many people are going to have some time off. Might be an opportunity for you to grab some rest that you may not have normally stopped to do,
right?
And help to kind of refresh yourself and get realigned. And we'll talk a little bit more about what all this rest is resistance stuff is as we dive into the conversation. Also want to make sure that you know how jazzy we look today in our ugly Christmas sweaters.
Jingle bells. Some of us are ringing, some of us are glittering.
Yes. All right. So Coach Allison is going to be leading our discussion today. So Allison, I'm going to turn it on over to you.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I have to say that because most of the time, I usually like to have my books on audio and a print. This book I did not get in print form. So I had to really follow along with the author and kind of make mental notes of certain things specifically around what she was sharing in the last two parts, which was part 3 is resist and part 4 is imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So what I thought was interesting, and I don't know if you ladies felt the same way, but first getting into it from the beginning, I felt like I was starting to really learn more of what she was actually talking about. Like it was weird. It was like I got the premise of the book during the first two parts, but part
Mhm.
3 and 4 really brought it all together where I'm like, that's what resisting rest means,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it was like an aha moment. So what I was gathering, and I just jotted a couple of things down, but it's sort of like um resisting is like not allowing your soul to guide you.
Mm.
And if we think more clearly about why we resist, I kind of summed it up a little bit. And then I want you ladies to kind of think about, why is it that we resist, or why is it that women resist, and just some things to kind of consider. So um I feel like we resist, or I may resist, because we're in a world that is um kind of calls us to that grind, right? We're always taught that that's what we're supposed to do. We have to be the strong one. We have to keep things moving. So just the pressures of that could have us resisting it because we're not really having a full understanding of what resisting means.
Mhm.
Mm.
So and our resistance should be an act of reclaiming our souls, right? So when we rest, we're not resisting rest, but we're resisting all of the things that have been put in place. um when you think of just how we've been held back, right? How we're not allowed to thrive or move forward, or having to show ourselves to prove ourselves. But it just, like, resistance is like being rooted in that whole idea that our souls are really guiding us. So that's kind of what I wanted to start out with. Like, what do you think? Why do you think we resist?
So I think and I think I'm understanding you correctly. Like we actually resist this idea of rest
Mhm. Yes.
rather than
Okay.
like grabbing hold of rest and using rest as a form of resistance in our lives. Um, I think it's we are resistant to the idea of rest because rest is not something that we've been taught
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
to do. We've
Mhm.
been taught that it's not really acceptable, especially for Black
Right.
women,
Yes.
right? Like
Right.
we're viewed as being like we're the work mules,
Hmm.
getting things done. We take care of everything, and if nobody else is going to do it, we're going to do it.
Hmm.
But at the same time, we're not rewarded in like kind for our efforts. Like we're not paid what we should be paid, if paid at all. We're not
Right.
appreciated, all of that. But when that is the message you've heard and seen your entire life, that becomes your way of operating.
Hmm.
It becomes who you are. And I was trying to find a quote that I highlighted from this most recent reading that talks about the grind culture. Um, so it says grind culture has thrown us into believing that suffering, hyperproductivity, and constant doing is redemptive. This is a lie.
Mm.
But I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the three of us could identify with this. Like
Hmm.
that we thought that, you know, like you had to be doing, you had to
Hmm.
do all this extra, you had to go above and beyond and all of that, and that in some kind of way, it was making you better. It was making you bigger. It was setting you apart.
Hmm.
which wasn't necessarily happening anyway. But
Right.
we were taught that we had to do 10 times better than everybody else, right?
Yes, 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 yes.
And
Right.
we thought in some ways that all of that extra energy and effort was redeeming us
Mm-hmm.
in the eyes of the world, in the eyes of a quote unquote white man or whatever. But the whole concept itself is a lie. Not only is it a lie that it was doing that for us, the whole idea
Yes.
itself is a lie.
Yeah. And did you think, like, how, now that I look at it, like when you said this, I definitely can raise my hand on that one. Like, that's like, I was immediately convicted on this whole idea because there was no other way for me to know. And I would also criticize other people, like, nobody got time to be going to sleep. Like, you sleep when it's time to go to bed. You got to take, you don't need to do, right? It's like, I felt that pressure. And now, after really having an understanding of what I'm actually resisting, we'll talk about that later with what that actually means with what you can create. But it really means that we've been defining ourselves by the world's way in defining who we are and what that means. And the world don't care nothing about us.
Yeah. Can I jump in for a second?
Yes, please.
Something Dr. Cherita said that's so true, and it just resonated with me. Growing up, I grew up with what's that generation who's now 90? That's the silent generation. Like, they're older. So I grew up with grandparents, and their thing was go, 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 right? You sleep at night, you get up early in the morning, and you are grinding all day, whether that's your 9 to 5 and then you come home and grind at home, or the weekends you get up early, you iron clothes, you cook dinner, there was no break, right? But what I did see was when you get sick, when your body is done for, you know what I'm saying, then now there's naps throughout the day, there's rest that we're now taking. And I'm thinking to myself, this whole idea really sucks the life out of us when we have our energy and our youthfulness and our go, go, go. And we're forced to nap in our later years when we're either sick or our bodies just scream, I can't anymore. And that is, it just struck me like that is, I don't know. It's like this destructive path that we're on if we don't learn in my younger, energetic time to say, I'm young and I have a lot of energy right now and I can grind, but for an hour, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to rest.
Yeah.
As opposed to working myself to death. And now I'm forced to take naps. Now my body is screaming for it. It's just like my body shuts down.
Right.
And it really is a cycle that the world, like you were saying, Coach Allison, it really is a cycle that the world has us, especially us, on, right? To work. Now, by the time you get to be about 60 or 70, now you're done. Now you have to rest. And I think that is a lot of, there is a lot of detoxing, unlearning that this book really pushes you to do if you really grab a hold of the message.
Yeah, for sure. And she does talk a lot about that deprogramming.
Yeah.
And I think it's so easy for us to identify other things that we consider culture, right? But I don't think any of us have considered, I know I didn't, like grind culture as a negative, right? I was participating in that whole grind culture. And what I also took in from the resistance part 3 was it's not just about a break, right? It's not really just about taking a break or a physical break or taking a vacation. It is about nourishing the spiritual parts of ourselves that we neglect the most
Mm-hmm.
So while that turns into, like you said, Dr. Malaika, that breaking down of your physical body,
Mm-hmm.
but we are taking, like, resisting grind culture is really taking care of our soul, our spirit, listening. And it's impossible to do that if we are not considering that when we have those moments where we take a physical break,
Right.
but also understanding that it's more than that.
Right.
Um, so, I thought that was good with considering, like, why don't we, why don't we resist the grind? Another part of that was basically thinking of how do we create a space for that, right? If we're thinking of not just not just a physical nap or a break or a rest or an hour away from the computer. Like, how do we create a space so that it becomes a part of our lives every day, like we do everything else, right? Like we train when we want to get stronger, or maybe eat healthier or lose weight, or even taking the time to read this book. Like those were intentional things.
Right.
How can we as Black women um incorporate that more in our daily lives or in our conversation?
It is intentionality because it's not going to happen unless you make a decision to do it and then follow through on that decision with
Right.
your action. The thing is that we tend to allow other things that seem more important or urgent to push those things to the side instead of seeing the importance and the urgency of keeping that at the forefront. So we, like, something comes up, like I I might not work out because this unexpected meeting
Mm-hmm.
came up, but I probably won't cancel my doctor's appointment.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Or even when you think about other things, like all of us have been in a situation or are in a situation now where we work and we also have a business, right?
Mm-hmm,
And you
mm-hmm.
find yourself like, okay, well, I keep putting the stuff off for my business so I can
Yeah.
do this thing over here, and I'm bringing this home and I'm working on that, and then my thing is kind of sitting to the side. We're
Right.
doing that same thing as it relates to our prioritization of our wellness,
Mm-hmm.
our wholeness,
Mm-hmm.
and our spiritual nurturing, I would say.
Yes.
Because when talking about like her concepts of rest and that being a way to reconnect to your God, to hear from Him, to get the instruction,
Right.
right? To get the clarity you need, to get the vision, to get all of that, you have to be quiet.
Yes.
You have to be quiet to receive it. And we often don't give ourselves the space and time to be quiet. We don't prioritize it. And your sleep time at night really doesn't count.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Say that
that
again. Say that again.
sleep time at night doesn't count. That's the refreshing of your physical body.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not to say you might not dream and God speak through you through your dreams and all of that, but that is about the refreshing and recuperation of your physical body.
That's good. You preaching right there. That's good.
So that don't count. When you said I'm going to sleep, I need some rest. That's not the kind of rest that we're talking about here.
Right.
Um,
Right. That's good.
mhm.
That's revelation.
Yes.
Because I think you do. I mean, that just hit me because I'm thinking, yeah, that's so true. That, and we don't even get enough of that.
Right.
Mhm.
Right.
Because as soon as you celebrate getting 8 hours, somebody on social media is saying, listen, I'm hustling and grinding, I'm only getting 5 hours. Sleep is overrated. And they're like, wait a
Like,
minute.
I don't need that much sleep. I just need to shut my eyes. What is it? Then you looking it up. You asking Google, how much sleep do I need?
Somebody said Beyonce only got 4 hours of sleep when she was doing her such and such tour and she was killing the game. And I'm like, Okay, okay.
Yes.
But we really do have to focus on what this is talking about. And the settling down, listening to your spirit, really like allowing God to do some downloading, that does not come with, you have to be intentional about that. And you have to want that.
Right.
Yes.
You have
And
to
you have,
want that.
and you have to see what we're doing as toxic. Like, it's not enough. Like, even the way she describes everything, it's like we have to see us not doing that as toxic. Like, would we sign up to participate in things that are toxic for us? Probably not.
Right.
And I think in the whole idea of resistance, it really is viewing that grind as toxic, and something that has been created so that we never really get to understand our true selves. Because also adopting this idea of rest is resistance in this manner, um, really teaches you more about the empowerment of yourself, something that was stolen. Um, and then we kind of continue to adopt the idea. Like, I even think about how performance, right? If we think of grind culture, right? Some people might think, what does that really, what is grind culture? So we could think like being busy and being on the go. But she gave some examples too, of talking about the whole performance based, right? Everything is based on performance and numbers and how much you can produce. And all of that did not just start. You were worth more with more that you could do or more that you could produce. That became your value system. So I think resisting this idea really gets us back in tune with everything that all of us teach women when we work with them. It
Right.
really be, well, who are you? What does that mean? Where is your value? And it cannot be tied to producing or how much you can produce.
Right.
Any other thoughts about that?
That's a lot to chew on right there. Come on.
Yeah. So, I mean, it just kind of, when you think about why a lot of that is fear. I think that was something too. It's like the fear of not having enough, and understanding that if we start to create this practice of rest, and it became a priority for us, then that would lead us to, that next thing, that more, being more liberated in what we do.
Can I just say, I think grind culture is addicting.
Oh my goodness, for sure.
Like, if you are grinding and producing, somehow that attaches to your person, right? And which is the dangerous part about, I have to work. That's what people know me as. That's what I do. I mean, I have, over the years, I've had people say, you do a lot. And it's like, yeah, well, okay. That's what I know. Like, I don't, my grandmother was like, oh, we ain't lazy. We work. But I do think that when you produce in that grind, it can be addicting, right? So in your mind, if I step back, so then my question is, can we grind and rest? Can we work and rest? Can we produce and rest?
I think we can. I mean, the grind part is I just don't like that word.
That's why I changed it to work.
Yeah,
right.
Produce.
Like hustle.
Can you work
something else? And I get that there may be a period of time, depending on what you're doing, you really are grinding and hustling, right?
Yeah.
But that should not be the goal, and that should not be your standard operating.
Your standard,
right?
Exactly.
But so some of that comes to the fact that people want to feel like they have to do stuff by themselves, right? So when you start to produce, you get something off the ground, you get it going, get some help,
right?
Like there are people, not everybody's purpose has them positioned to be an entrepreneur, to be the creator, right? Or to be the visionary. Some people's purpose actually lies in them supporting other people
Right.
in their purpose,
Doing
right?
the work.
So go find the people who are waiting to help you
That's
push this
right.
thing forward, so you don't have to grind and hustle
Mhm.
all the time, because that
Mhm.
really is no way to live.
Right.
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 And then you hear it in people. Like I forget what I was listening to. I was listening to an interview, and the woman was basically saying, like, I don't need nobody. I don't, I can do this, and I don't need this, and I don't need that. And that we weren't designed that way. So now we almost have to grind.
Yeah.
If we're doing it by ourselves, there really is not much choice.
Right.
If you're choosing to do everything. So that's an excellent point.
I have learned to rely on Fiverr.
Among others, right?
Yes, I'm learning. Like,
Yeah, just everything.
yes.
You gotta delegate, because it's
Yes.
just, it's not, we've learned, we
Right.
need our souls to be guided more. So with that being said, I want to move into part 4. So it kind of leads you through, once you actually have an understanding of resisting, and what that means. It takes you through to actually explain what happens, right? When you really are resisting grind culture, what's on the other side of that? What are you accepting? And there's a part that I just kind of jotted down. It says, we have to embrace the space of resisting the lies of dominant culture. It is a holy place. It is a creative, inventive, innovative, expansive, and transformative space. So much is possible here. Instead of fearing the unknown of what's on the other side of slowing down, that's a big one. Afraid of what's on the other side of slowing down, begin to see it as a sacred place that is ready to hold and make space for your gifts and inherent talents. Grind culture has placed a fear in as our only compass, and keeps us frozen in a way that is now a habit.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you were saying. It puts you in this place where, like, you're afraid to slow down because you don't know what's on the other side of that. It could be like lack of money, lack of, acknowledgement, we see the lack from slowing down. If I sleep, I can't eat, man don't sleep and man don't eat, all that, whatever it is that, that we've said or heard said. But if we think of imagining in a different way, that's what's on the other side when you slow down. And then I read where there's a part here. I don't know if I have it specifically, but it talks about, like, that whole piece of imagination was stolen from us, right? We didn't have time to imagine. So think about that in our day and our lives and how we live. We didn't, our ancestors didn't have time to imagine, because they had to try to plan an escape. There was no daydreaming, looking into the stars and what, it was all about gaining freedom. So when you look at it in that sense, when you actually look at what's on the other side of slowing down as being able to nourish your soul, and hear from God, or know that what's in us is too noisy for us to understand or hear. So what do you think about, how do you feel about how that is the direct result of what's on the other side of slowing down?
Well, I think again, it goes back to this belief that's built inside of us, right? It's taught to us, but you don't have to like work yourself to your death, right? To be able to eat, to meet your basic needs and desires, right? And I think you have to balance this, like, am I, how they say, like, you live to eat or you eat to live, right? it's the same thing with work. Like
Mhm.
you're working so hard, but you don't even have the time, the freedom to enjoy the fruits of your labor
Mhm.
because you're just continuing to work. And at the root of what you're saying, Allison, is like there's fear at the root of
Mhm.
that,
Right.
right? And like you don't want to do anything in fear.
Right. Right. Right.
Down to, because that backdrop to everything is going to cause you to make decisions that are not in your best interest
Mhm.
Right.
Mhm.
out of fear. So there has to be some general like belief in yourself.
Mhm.
So I'm even like I'm not even going to reference God in this.
Mhm.
Just some general belief in yourself that what you're doing is enough. At
Mhm.
least like it's enough for the moment, right? And that is going to supply what you need,
Mhm.
and like you'll do a little bit more. It's going to supply some more, right?
Mhm.
But you don't have to work 18-hour days,
Right.
7 days a week like our ancestors
Right.
were doing. Like nobody is forcing you to do that right now.
Right.
And now
Mhm.
we're not talking about people who are in just adverse circumstances where they might be in a position where they have.
Right.
We're talking about the average person, right?
Right. 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 You're not talking about, again, if you have to pick up a second job or you're doing things to, you
Right,
know, however you're moving along with that. Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a decision to change your way of being in the world because the world is not changing its way of being.
Not in that way.
It's not changing the way it sees you either. And I think she talks about dismantling the systems,
Mhm.
right? The systems aren't going to change on their own because they benefit from all of this.
Right.
So there's no reason for the system to try to change. And even if you look at like the US system just of employment and labor, right, compared to other countries and how like some other countries like Spain does their siesta or whatever they call it, like during the middle of the day where they literally break from work for a few
Mhm.
hours
Right.
and then go back to work. Or, the countries where it's like 4-day work week or like
Mhm.
people get a month of
Right.
vacation.
Now here they don't even want you have a baby. You got to go 6 weeks. That's all you're
Right.
gonna get.
And that's it.
And
That's
that's what?
If you're lucky, right.
6 weeks.
Some places you're not that's a certain type of position. Like some
Right,
jobs, if you
exactly.
don't have insurance, you got to go back to work anyway. You're not getting no
Exactly.
time off.
That's the truth.
But even what you said too, when you think about like the world not changing, it automatically takes me to I think she talks about it in the book, and you mentioned it earlier, Dr. Malika, was like social media, right? Look at even how social media has changed, right? We used to get on and we thought it was just to share photos with our friends and family and see what people are doing. Now you are paid for holding the attention of someone longer. The
Yep.
longer you as a person who's creating content, the longer you hold their attention, you can get paid for it. And they're making sure that you do things in shorter clips. So now they want you to like be faster. So it's like our brains, think of like our kids and our children's children. How much faster is the world going to get for you to see, want you to take things in? It's all by design.
Mhm.
It
we're,
is.
we're pretty much a slave to it.
Right. That's it.
Yeah. I watch how my son, how fast he types on his phone. And I'm thinking, how did you learn that? Because
Mhm.
growing up, you didn't have that. I mean, you had it maybe in like 8th, 9th grade, but growing up, and
Right.
there are kids now who are 2, 3 who are already, they understand how to navigate a laptop but
Mhm.
it's intentional.
Yes, that's the part that I'm looking at it. And when you
It's
say like the
intentional.
babies, like my granddaughter is 2. She knows how to skip through the commercials on YouTube. Like
Yeah.
she would just press that skip, scroll, stop on the one that she wants to watch. I'm like, and again, like you said, no one taught her that. But by the time she, is a teenager or all those things, we're being fed. So that's back to why we gotta resist. We gotta
Mhm.
We
resist that
do.
that grind culture in any way we can. I think it's hard to think of it all at once,
Yeah.
like to stop. But I think something else that she talks about is creating it like a collectively, right? Like not like I'm gonna do this all by myself, like like we just said earlier, but
Yeah.
like collective. The more people who start to have a better understanding of it, the more that we can introduce, you know, just that whole value system that's
Yeah.
not tied to how much you can do.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I think is interesting? We just talked about, the grind, the work, producing. We made the joke about, Beyonce working. She's just an example, but and we produce. So if we work, we'll produce. But she says if you don't mind, Coach Allison, I just want to pull a sentence. She says, and this is something I had underlined: rest disrupts and makes space for invention, imagination, and restoration.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, as we say in the church, that's a lie from the devil, that you got to work and grind in order to create an event.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you don't. And maybe we need to unlearn that. Maybe if I rest a little bit and declutter my mind, maybe some new ideas from that great big God we serve will have space to download. You know what I'm saying? Or just my imagination will flow differently if I rest, as opposed to I gotta get in a think tank and sit down with 5 other people. And we gotta get a whiteboard and come up with ideas. That's what we're taught here in the workforce. That's how you invent. That's how you come up with ideas. And it's like, maybe we don't. Maybe we're not supposed to be. Maybe we weren't even built that way.
Right. Can you imagine like going to your boss and they give you a project and you say, okay, well, I'm going to go in my office and turn the lights out. And I'll be back in an hour and I'll have all of the information you need on that project. Like, that might be your last day on the job if you're afraid.
I know, but I'm telling you, I just think, there's something to that.
Yeah. It's healing. It's really, we have to look at it as a source of healing and reconnecting. Like, do we even know how to imagine anymore? Like, do we have to learn that again?
Today's generation, they are learning through scrolling. That's where ideas come from. Someone else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, not sit down, be quiet, listen, focus in. Just what do you hear? Yeah.
She says, there's one statement in here where she says, silence is a sound.
Ooh, I remember that. I think you had that
a little bit more
yeah.
after that, but that little piece, like, silence is a sound.
Yes.
It's like you don't have to feel silence with like music and all of that. Even if you like music, and that might help you relax. But like sometimes you just need to sit in quiet.
Yes.
And let whatever is going to come from that.
Yeah.
But related to something you were just saying, she also says that your body has important information to share with you, but it can only arrive to you in a rested state. What if you are missing so much of who you are because you are navigating life from a state of exhaustion?
Wow.
So some people are out here, they're trying to do everything. Like they're trying to like figure out who I am and what I want, what I was on earth to do.
Right.
They're just doing this and doing that and trying this and trying that, getting involved in all this stuff. Don't know how to say no, And they're still like internally kind of swimming in circles. And it's just like, I haven't figured it out. I haven't figured it out. And that's because you're not trying to. You're just doing. Or maybe you just need to sit down. Be quiet.
Sit down.
Be still.
Like the old folks used to say, sit down somewhere.
Let the answers come to you.
And stop talking.
Yes. But isn't that like, that's exciting to even think about, right? It's sort of like it really is a new way of thinking. And something else I want to mention when we talk about adopting different practices or creating, more of this in our lives by resisting and preparing to imagine. Do you remember in the book where she was talking about, and I could totally relate to this, how she's basically telling people she's on a sabbatical, like no calls, no emails or anything.
Mhm.
And even then, people will push that boundary to interrupt that. You could say, I don't take calls between this time and that time. You could set like, this is my lunch break. People will put, oh, I know you said it's your lunch break, but can you just do this for me? Or do you
Yes.
have a minute? Like, why do we do that?
Right. Because that rest is not important. That is not important.
That's
It-
almost like
Because
disrespectful.
if your rest isn't important to you, somebody else's rest isn't going to
Yes,
be important to
that's
you.
good. That's good. And because you always do it, you have to always do it because you'll know who not to go to ask them a question when they're on, not working or on break or something, or people
Right.
that you know that are like, how many people do you know take a vacation and work on vacation, not because they have to, but because they're choosing to, because they have to answer that email or they feel obligated, or people will not even let you not answer. It's like,
Yes.
it says right in my signature. So I thought when she shared that story, that was that's a good way to look at too. Like, and I didn't even think of it the way you said it, Dr. Cherita, was, yeah, if I'm not doing it, if I'm not setting the boundary for myself, how do I expect someone else to set that boundary?
Right. That's true. Because I took plenty of calls when I was down in Myrtle Beach.
But like, if you're like, I'll be right back. I would be that one. They'd be like, you always on your phone. I'm like, I got to answer this one call.
I know, but sometimes you feel needed, or like you can be the solution.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Or if I don't do it
without you,
it's not going to get done. That's the fake. That's the fake.
Here's the deal. If you drop dead today,
the show must go on.
Wait a minute. You don't know what it's like, honey, because when they let you go, you know that they move on without you.
Exactly.
Whoever they was going to call in that moment, that's who they better call.
Honey, that's what they're calling now. So I know how that is. And I'm grateful. Listen, this is revelation for all of us in this time of our lives. And it's really important. Like, if we don't do anything with this revelation, rest, shame on us.
Mm-hmm.
Shame on us, because this is good. Mm-hmm. This is good stuff. And it's something that we've been saying it, but you said intentional about doing, even if it's 15, 20 minutes a day.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And almost like being an advocate for yourself, right? Like, even if you didn't think this way yesterday, like, you can start today. Be an advocate for yourself for implementing and making it non-negotiable.
Exactly. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Let me read this paragraph and then we'll go ahead and wrap this episode.
All right. I know you got a good one. Bring it.
So it says, the idea of rest as resistance is a counter narrative to the dominant story. Protest and resistance don't look one way. It's what's really happening on the ground in the small and important details of our lives. Mm-hmm. It says, no, this isn't the full story. I have another perspective. I can speak for myself. Mm-hmm. It's living when someone told you should die. Mm-hmm. It's entering joy when pain and oppression surround you daily. It's living in your truth even when your heart trembles at the thought of being vulnerable. It's napping when the entire culture calls you lazy. It's sleeping when you have been told by capitalism that you aren't doing enough. It's honoring a day, a week, a second for Sabbath. It's reimagining what a Sabbath can look like based on your own history. Resistance is laying down when you have been told to keep going. It's listening to the voice whispering inside of you to be productive when your breathing is all the production ever needed.
Wow.
So just being alive is enough.
Alive is enough.
Wow. Yeah, that's good.
Wow.
Yeah. So how much work we got to do?
A lot.
We got a bit.
Quite a bit. So where does it start, ladies? Like we're going into, we're wearing our holiday sweaters, and we're,
It's starting.
we're approaching the end of 2023. How do we start, and how do we encourage other women and our viewers to start considering, all of the things that we shared in participating in this book reading?
Mhm.
I think it starts I know for me and my schedule, right? So I'm learning to have a better sense of my day to day now that my work is different, right? So, when we started the book, I was good. I was carving out time, 22-minute, take a nap, just shut it down. And then you start moving. But I'm going to start by putting it in my phone, like in my calendar, so that it pops up and it goes off just like it would if I had to take a pill or my medicine, right? Or have a doctor's appointment. And I think, y'all know me, I'm all about self-talk, right? So I have to change what I say about rest. You know what I mean? So those two things are going to be helpful. And I think the third thing for me is incorporating this language, this new teaching in my posts, and because this is motivational.
Right.
It doesn't sound like it because it's going against, like you said, Coach Allison. Exactly. But I do want to incorporate this in my day-to-day, so I get that message out there to my audience.
For sure.
I think probably the first place that I need to start is spending less time on social media. And the thing is, people may not even realize I spend as much time as I do because I don't comment a lot and I don't like a lot, but I'm seeing stuff and I'm liking it. I'm just not clicking the button like, right? But I'm doing it at times where I could be experiencing that silence.
Yes.
And really tuning in and listening. So it's like, okay, because I am a person who tries to get 8 hours of sleep. Yeah, like
I love my sleep too.
It was like, yes, sis, you need that 8 hours. Right. So I do try to get my 8 hours of sleep. So I'm like, typically in the bed by 10 o'clock, right?
Ooh, that's good.
But if I'm not like ready to fall asleep, like I'm in the bed, it's dark or whatever, but it's just like I know it's like I'm still kind of gone a little bit. I'll lean over and pick up my phone, and I'll lay in the bed like
fall asleep with
like scrolling until I feel my eyes getting heavy, and I'm just like, that is literally a waste of time, and it's fine for you to just lay there in the dark.
Right. That's
and
good.
Listen to see what God is saying. Right. So I think that's my starting point. And then I don't do 20-minute nap thing because I don't fall asleep that quickly.
Right.
Like, I didn't think I could either.
Fall asleep for like 10 minutes. And I don't want just a 10-minute nap. Like I need like 30 minutes. Right. So I don't know if that thing right there is my thing. And I would tend typically if I'm gonna take a nap, it's gonna be like on the weekend or something like that. But I think even that like in the morning, like when I'm, sometimes like you like in the morning you're sitting and you just got your phone in your hand. I don't have to have my phone in my hand.
Right.
I don't have to. Like I'm not in any emails that are changing the world. O'clock in the morning, like I'm not, right?
Exactly.
So just recognizing that every waking hour does not need to be filled with
activity. Yes, that's good. All right, so I'm gonna say what y'all said. Everything y'all said. Now I'm not so big on social media. I think I'm always creating some sort of a project. Like for me, I'm always making something, and it's not always for me. Right. So I'm always creating something. I'm doing something. Someone knows I'm good at something. Hey, can you do this? Because you could do this in 5 seconds and it'll take me 2 days. I'm like, sure. So that makes me look at, everything that we just read. It's like, why do I feel like I, want to take on more projects or things that don't really have anything to do with me?
Right.
So I think in in addition to uh, being more intentional, I think that really for me is more about taking that time and doing the resting, or the imagining. Like literally that's the time that I'm putting it into practice. So for me it's going to be about that boundary, right? That boundary setting it for myself so that other people respect it, enforce it if someone's crossing it,
Right.
but not necessarily being all things to everyone, which has been something that I have always been, which I can identify as being a part of my programming. Is I got to do everything for everybody. Hey, mom, can you do this? Can you do that? Being a wife, a mom, grandmom, work with people, colleagues, friends, different groups of friends,
Right.
feeling the need, like, oh, we haven't hung out. Okay, now that this group, and so I think for me, it's literally integrating the intentional resisting the grind culture, and not being all things to everyone all the time. It's like, are you asleep? No, I'm up. What you need?
Right.
Like,
Right,
what you doing right now? You need me?
No,
Like,
and sometimes it's like, no,
yeah, like that's
it's
my
really
response. I will say, hey, what you doing? I'm like, why? What's up? You need me? Like that is literally a response in my phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm recognizing that doesn't, if I'm going back to everything that we talk about around this whole topic, is that doesn't equate to any worth or value, with being all things to everyone. Like that doesn't mean anything to anyone if I can't do it physically, or, or if I'm not doing the things that I was created to do. Like it's just a waste. So
Right.
it was good. It was good. I wasn't even sure if how the book was going to go, when it was assigned. It's like, okay, what, because it's not typically a type of book that I would pick.
Mm-hmm.
So that was really, I love the fact that we did that. I love the fact that it wasn't something that we'd be like, oh, I want to read this, or is it juicy, or is it self-help, or a memoir? You know what I mean? It was really a whole different genre, but definitely an amazing experience with what I gained from reading it.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. I think just like we didn't really touch on this too much in the conversation, but we also have to change our expectations of other people.
Mm-hmm.
So while we are putting this into practice for ourselves, like it behooves us to watch what we're saying to our children.
Right. Oh yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Like, do they really have to be up at 7 o'clock on Saturday?
Right. Yes. You
Like,
being lazy on your only day off.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
just sleep until their body wakes them up.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right. And just because your body wakes up at 5:30 don't mean their body.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. So
Good.
just and even like, spouses, partners, and all of that. And then for those of us who like have team members and stuff like that, it's not just about the expectations that we set for ourselves and like how we're going to shift in our own lives, but we have to help other people learn, because they may never read this book, may never even know that this book exists, right?
Right.
But if we want to begin to see real change, we have to somehow demonstrate and teach others as we're implementing this as well.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah, the first thing they would be saying, no, my husband will be the first one. Was like, because I always clown him for his naps. I'm like, what you need a nap for? You're wasting time. Ain't there something else you could be doing? I'm like, but now I'm like, that he's got it. He's got it more on that note, whatever he does with his time. But like you said, it's just eye-opening.
Yeah. All right, so we have come to the end of this episode.
No.
Season 2 of The Coaches Are In.
Yes.
We will be back for season 3 in the spring. We might do a little pop-up something in between there, but maybe we won't, because we don't need to be hustling and grinding.
We're going to be imagining.
Yeah, maybe we
need to imagine season 3.
Imagining, right? And get the guidance that we need for season 3. So
Season
we'll see, but we will be back, and we're excited. We already have some good stuff planned for you all in season 3. We want to remind you of the opportunities to be featured when the coaches are in season 3, whether it is as a guest asking your question, or as a guest expert. Um, we kind of have our residents each season and come in and share with us multiple times from their areas of expertise, or just a featured Black women-owned business, or anyone who is doing something in the community that you would like us to recognize and kind of shout them out and shine a spotlight on them. We're happy to do that as well. Then, of course, advertising opportunities are available if you want to support the work that we're doing. But it's been a really good season. I mean, if you missed any episodes, you need to go back and watch them.
Go back and watch them.
Content is really good. Things that is good, especially the menopause whisperer.
Oh my
Oh my
God.
gosh, I know. I watched that more than once. Just
Yeah,
for motivation.
She
yes,
is a
yes,
wealth of knowledge. And
yes.
Lord, because
This is
something.
we're not talking a lot about that
No,
we need to be talking about.
no,
Right?
no.
So yeah, so all of that is there for you, available for you to access. And we cannot wait to come back to you in season 3.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, good content. Go ahead.
Can I just say one thing? Celebrating Black women for the first time in where I live in Indiana, PA, we have our first Black woman voted to school board council. Now she lost in the election, but something shifted because we just got notified that she is now officially voted in. And so maybe next season, but I'm just saying this is exciting stuff.
Some good things happening.
Yeah, things are
Yeah.
happening, y'all.
Yes, awesome. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and say our see you later is not goodbye, because we will be back in a few months. So we will see you then when we return.